Hey there, I'm Tucker and you're watching D&D Daily. Today we're going to be talking about a Swarmkeeper build, the Spirit of the Rose. Basic mechanics of the Spirit of the Rose is that you are going to be a Swarmkeeper Ranger and your race is going to be Wood Elf. The Spirit of the Rose grew up in a forested wood elf community and loved the thickets of the roses that always surrounded it year-round. Over time, she became connected to these roses and learned to manipulate them like a beautiful swarm, and this is what she uses for her Swarmkeeper abilities. One day she returned from the rose thickets to find her parents murdered and evidence to convince her that her brother was the culprit. Now she's leaving her rose thickets, she's leaving her wood elf village to go and look for her brother for explanation and revenge. The Spirit of the Rose's personality is based on that of a rose. She values beauty, not just external beauty, but inherent and internal beauty as well. She tries to see the beauty in everything around her. She will not be stepped on. She stands up for herself and pushes back against those that would try to take away who she is. She is elegant and graceful. She is graceful in all that she does, including fighting, and she takes pride and sees the art in everything she does. I would make sure to give her proficiency in acrobatics to reflect this. In combat, the Spirit of the Rose is a control archer, which already is a unique mix. She uses her gathered swarms to manipulate the enemy's position. This is a flexible ability that allows her to break grapples for both her and her teammates because of the forced movement, and this also allows her to take advantage of hazardous terrain, which we'll talk more about in a second, and in certain circumstances can be used to deal massive damage. The Spirit of the Rose can create one such circumstance for her hazardous terrain by using her spell Spike Growth. This both controls the enemy's movement and deals extra damage in combination with her swarm. The way this works is she casts Spike Growth on an area and then uses the force movement from her swarm to move the enemy through this area. Every time they move 5 feet, they take 2d4 piercing damage. Doesn't sound like a ton, however, over time when they have to move and they have to go through difficult terrain, they end up taking a lot of damage, and you can keep them in that area fairly well with your swarm. Overall, it is a great combo that this character can really take advantage of. If she is fighting in melee distance, remember that the gathered swarm can be used to move herself as forced movement, which can act as a pseudo disengage, while still being able to make attacks. Because it's forced movement, this movement does not provoke opportunity attacks, so it is a good way to get out of an enemy's reach and then still be able to make your range attacks without any disadvantage. We are going to flavor her Spike Growth and her swarm as roses, either rose petals or rose thickets. Out of combat, the Spirit of the Rose can be the party's scout. She has high perception, high acrobatics to get into hard to reach places, and she has really good stealth, especially when making use of her Mask of the Wild feature from her Wood Elf race. At 7th level, she also gains a limited flying speed for a short time that could be useful for out of combat mobility. She will also be able to lead the party when traveling through the wilderness, especially forests, because of her Wood Elf background and just because of her Ranger class abilities. In her downtime, she'll be searching for any traces of her brother and any clues to his motives, actions, or whereabouts. She would also be a thorn for the innocent, protecting those that cannot protect themselves. The key mechanics of the Spirit of the Rose is that Dex is going to be your main stat, with Wisdom as a secondary one. Dex is going to raise all your attacks and a lot of your skills. Wisdom is going to make a higher DC for your force movement of your swarm. And then past that, just Constitution. We are also going to want to make sure to take the archery fighting style for this character to get a +2 to all of our archery attack rolls. And then one note is that we are going to use medium armor for this character until we max out our dexterity, and then we're going to switch to light armor because it's going to give us a better AC. The weaknesses of the Spirit of the Rose is she is not great in close quarters combat. This is where her pseudo disengage helps us, however it's still going to be a weakness for her. She also has low charisma, so social situations might be not the best for her. However, her insight might be able to soften this up a little bit. And anything strength related is also just not very good. It's just going to be a weakness across that. I would use the Spirit of the Rose as a quest giver that requests the party's help in finding, tracking down, and hunting her brother. Alternatively, you could have the party meet the brother first, who convinces them to kill his crazy sister that is chasing him around and hunting him down. That would give it good dichotomy that your players can interact with both of them and decide who is to blame and who they should help. Whether a PC or an NPC, make sure to give that brother a good story. Make sure to give him a good reason of why he did or why he didn't, or why he was framed for this crime, and to make this a little bit better of a backstory. The key note of this character is that you should embody a rose. She should be focused on grace and beauty while still being strong and having a thorn for vengeance. How would you use the Spirit of the Rose in one of your games? What would you do to make her better, more flavorful, or better mechanically? Let us know in the comments below. We are D&D Daily. We release new content every single day all about D&D, so make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you tomorrow.